Hi, I'm Eric Ostro, host of Live at the Lortel. For season 4, we continue our focus on art and activism. Why do off-Broadway artists uplift certain causes, and how do those causes make them the artists they are today? And while we gather virtually, we'd like to recognize that we occupy land stolen from Indigenous people. Join us in acknowledging this history and consider our role in reconciliation, decolonization, and allyship. Good evening, everybody. Wow, that's close. My name is Eric Ostro, one of the hosts of Live at the Lortel. We have a great show ahead of us this evening, so I'm going to get right to it. I'm going to bring my dearest friend and my co-host on for the evening, Joy DeMichelle.
Hello, lovely. How are you?
Hi, my beauty. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm very, very excited for this. So let's get to it, okay?
Yes.
All right. Fedna Jacquet is an actor, writer, director. Fedna Jacquet most recently starred as Passenger One in Ain't No Mo for its Broadway and off-Broadway runs. As a writer and director, her film My Mother's Song most recently was honored at the Urban World Film Festival in NYC. She is a 2020 through 2022 National Black Theater Playwright in Residence, a 2019 through 2021 Huntington Theater Playwriting Fellow, and a 2019 Niska and NIFA Artist Fellow in Playwriting and Screenwriting. Fedna is an advocate for all students to have access to a college education, and we'll speak with her today about that and a lot of other things. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Fedna Jacquet.
Hello.
Hello, good evening. How are you?
I'm so good. Glad to be here. How are you two?
We're good. I'm good.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for asking. I'm good.
I know you're in your third trimester. Is that right?
Whew, countdown has begun. I have less than 5 weeks. I'm counting every single day.
April 2nd?
April 2nd.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Yes,
Thank
congratulations.
You. Thank you. But
you know, that's something I wanted to talk about. Let's talk about Ain't No Mo and the incredible year that you've had. You know, you played it at the Public, and then you're going to Broadway. You got pregnant. I mean, let's just talk about, you know, the whirlwind you've been on for the past year.
Yeah, no, 2022, nothing but blessings. I also got married in May.
Yeah. Okay, yes.
So it's just been really awesome, which is strange, I think, coming out of the pandemic, because that's not what I thought would happen. You know, like it was a lot of doom and gloom and like, oh, here I am at home writing. But I didn't know that those seeds would somehow, you know, just like prosper. Definitely Ain't No Mo is a project that I've been working on for so long. And I love Jordan E. Cooper so much, and Stevie Walker Webb. And we just knew this little baby would, like, you know, grow up to be a big star. And then we got on Broadway, which was amazing. I'll never forget the FaceTime when like Jordan FaceTimed me and he's like, we're going to Broadway, baby.
Tell us how you got involved. How did it all start?
Sure. So it started a couple years ago at the Public. I remember this day. So I had like 3 auditions set for one day. And this was the first audition. The second one was for like a series regular at ABC. And then I'm not sure what the third one was. But I remember like putting so much focus on this like series regular, you know, like I'll get to buy my brownstone and like live my life. And I'm like, okay, I'll just like go do this play audition. You know, I'll just do it really quickly. I went in. The room was just like, I don't know, it's like I stepped foot into a pool, you know? It was kind of like all consuming. Everyone was warm. Everyone like, you know, just wanted to get to know me and get to know the work. And so, you know, and I already loved the script. So I was like, okay, like, let's do this. And so we did all of the sides and then we did them again. And then Stevie was like, oh, like, I love this. Like, what if you played this as like a 5-year-old? And I'm like, yes. You know, it was like a very like artist cipher. It was insane. And then I realized, it wasn't until I got to like the studios on ABC, like that I realized that I was rolling on the floor, I was sweating, I was doing like all of this stuff. And by the time I got there, I had like my mascara running. I looked horrible. I remember Marcy was like, do you want a second? And I'm like, yeah. I should probably, needless to say, I did not get that audition, but I did get a number, which was definitely the best thing for me, and my heart's desire. So it all worked out.
That is wonderful.
What is
story.
Yeah, me too. What is being pregnant, getting married, making your Broadway debut? What pros and cons? You played this character that has to make a very big decision in this play, and they made some alterations to the script and obviously the costumes for you. So walk us through that, because I find that really fascinating, that you're playing this character who is, thinking about maybe not having the child, and here you are pregnant. I just find that as an artist, my head would be spinning all the time.
Yeah, yes, definitely. So they didn't make any alterations. So Jordan didn't make any alterations to the script. So it was just kind of costumes, which was interesting because Trisha, which is the second character I played, who you're referring to.
Yes.
I've gotten to play her 3 different times, right? So the first time I played Trisha, it was kind of like we were at the Public, but this was like very like, like I think our budget was like $2, we had like t-shirts and like pants, we had no props. It was just very low budget. And I remember playing Trisha, and I played her with no belly, like at all, right? And that was an experience. And then, once we did get the budget, we came on the next season, we were a little more fancy. They asked me, how pregnant do I think Trisha is, And I remember being like, oh, like, let's see. So I went from no belly to having like a full belly. And wow, just a totally different reaction from the audience, right? I think abortion, of course, is such a hot topic, and always has been a hot topic. Women's bodies are always a hot topic. But I think at that moment in the play, which takes place in an abortion clinic, it's just hard for people to reconcile the pain that this woman is going through while seeing her like 9 months pregnant, So I remember the audience being very uncomfortable and very silent during that scene, which was interesting. And I think my reaction to that, as a woman, as a Black woman going through similar issues, for that last time we ran it at the Public, was it was the first time that I felt like, oh, wow, I think I might need to talk to someone about this. And luckily at the Public, we did actually have access to these 2 amazing therapists, and they kind of like followed the run of the show. And so I was able to kind of unpack those feelings and like work through them. And I felt like I was in a positive enough place to like give Trisha her voice, but then also allow the audience to see what they wanted to see, right? Not to direct their emotion or direct their opinion, which is how I, like to act. So then once Jordan gave me the call, it was like, we're going to Broadway. I already knew I was in my first trimester. So I did tell him this, but I was like, ooh, like what can I do to help set myself up for success? Because I know that this is going to be even more work than the last time I did Trisha. So that was kind of what I worked on before we started rehearsal, right? Like I kind of set up this whole different world for Trisha, which was very opposite me. Just because, I think if she was pregnant and I was pregnant, like I'd be able to do it. Mm-hmm. But I think being a Black mother or soon to be mother with the same concerns that she has was just going to take me over the edge. And I know those costume changes are like 45 seconds tops between. So I wasn't going to be able to do a ritual and like get it out of my system.
And you're changing up wigs too. I mean,
exactly.
Unbelievable.
30 seconds of the 45-second
My
change.
God.
But so I just really I took the time. I think I took about 3.5 weeks to set Trisha up in her own universe, right? Where she was similar to me, but like also polar opposites, right? Like her ring, like mine is like platinum. I have a platinum band. She loves gold. It was just very, very opposite of me, so that I was able to fully like put her on and give her the space that she needed, and then like lift her off.
And take her off.
Yeah. So that was probably the trickiest part of playing passenger one while pregnant. But now that I've done that, I'm like, oh, I can do anything,
Yeah, I
Like,
bet you.
yeah.
Nice. So with you did it at the public. Second place, you did it where?
We actually did twice at the public. So
Okay.
one
And
studio
twice-
production. Mhm.
So because unfortunately I didn't get to see it. It like
No.
I was all part of that group of people that was like, what? I can get to New York now. It's over. What?
Well, there is a rumor that there might be a film coming out. I don't know.
Word on the street.
Word on the street.
Word on the street is that there's the movie coming out.
Yes.
I didn't want to bring it up, but you brought it, so there you go.
Well, I think Jordan brought it up in an interview, so hopefully I won't get in trouble.
Okay. So now here you are doing this production. What did it feel like to be able to bring this kind of story to life for us, for the culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then have it not live the life that it could have and should have lived?
Yeah.
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 That sigh says a million things.
It was devastating. I'll be honest. It was devastating. Only because this play, my gosh. And I'm a playwright myself.
Yes.
And I can put my ego aside and say, this play is like the best play ever, Jordan just wrote such a masterpiece that really holds everybody accountable, right? Like there's no one sitting in the audience that can say, oh yeah, like no, I'm fine, I get a pass. Like everyone feels like they're, in it, and the fingers pointing at them, and you laugh until you realize like I shouldn't have been laughing, and then you start crying, right? That's the type of play he wrote. That's the type of magic in his creation. And so to end early was devastating, just because I know how it affects people, like I watch people like after the show, like people would come up to us, people would DM us, like everyone loved it, the reviews were great. So it was shocking, it was devastating, but I will say it did give us this moment where we realized, there are other shows that kind of ended early before us, and we knew that like the marketing, like everything needed to change, right? Like Broadway needed to advertise this type of show differently than it did like Merrily We Roll Along, like it's just the truth. And I think we were the perfect case study of that, right? Where you couldn't fault the play, you had to say, hey, there's something else going on here. And then Jordan had this call to the community, and we all kind of asked people to support, and then they came through, so we like extended, which was like ending on a win, right? And I feel like the people who supported us too were the people who looked like us, people who like just saw themselves in the play, and that just gave me hope. And that if it happened earlier, it lets me know that we were meant to be there, right? And we are meant to be there. We just need to find a way to do these kinds of things sooner, right? So that we're never in a position where it's like, oh, we need one more week or we need another week. It's just, hey, we know the marketing plan from before the show even comes out. Like, let's get this done,
And the word of mouth. I mean, word of mouth for this play was so incredible, coming from the public. And everybody was like, Ain't No Mo is going to open on Broadway. That's going to be a hit for sure.
And then pandemic.
I wanted to share this story. I read this interview with Lee Daniels and Jordan E. Cooper about when Lloyd Richards directed A Raisin in the Sun on Broadway. And he talks about how he saw a Black woman go up to the box office because it was hard to see a lot of people go to Broadway back then. And he saw a Black woman go up and put $2 down to see Sidney Poitier in A Raisin in the Sun. And the box office said, "I'm sorry, ma'am, it's going to be $4. And so she went back in her handbag and took out $2 more and put it down and got her ticket. So Lloyd Richards went up to her, and she doesn't know who the director is. And he says, "Ma'am, can I ask you a question? Why would you pay $4 to see Sidney Poitier on Broadway rather than just paying $2 to go see him in a movie up the street?" And this woman said, "Word is going around my neighborhood, and there's something happening here that I need to be a part of, that concerns me, and I need to come see what that is."
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was such a great story about how Raisin in the Sun, people talked about it, and they went to their friends and their family. And, the same thing could have happened to that show. It could have
Mm-hmm.
closed after 20 performances because it was Sidney Poitier. But I mean, it's just fascinating to me how difficult the marketing and word of mouth can be.
Yeah.
And how it destroyed, it just closed this extraordinarily magnificent piece of theater.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I asked you that question, is I wanted to give voice to what this show means historically. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's not a show that will just come and go in the thoughts of what theater is, Black theater is, Broadway theater. It's hitting so many. And historically, what happened with it, the only other show I can think of kind of like that is The Wiz,
Yes. Yes.
right?
Yes.
So it's in a different space, and you are a part of that. So
Well,
congratulations to you.
similar to The Wiz, they received their closing notice on opening night.
That's right.
Mhm,
Right?
mhm,
And we got it a week later. We're like, what? Yep.
mhm.
And you must have
Exactly.
all been bowled over because the audiences were standing up, they were screaming at the stage, they were
Yep.
walking out of the theater talking about what they had just seen.
Yep.
And that's what this piece was about. I mean, I'm
Exactly.
sure Jordan and all of you, that's what you want
Mhm.
as an author, for
Yeah.
people to be walking out of the theater. And if they're going to sit down and get something to eat or go home and talk about it, but they're still talking about it. And they were.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so you pour yourself into acting, but you also equally pour yourself into writing.
Yes.
So talk about your project that you most recently did and what that's about and how you feel about it. Talk to us.
Sure. So the project that is going to come out the soonest is a play that I wrote called Black Mother, Lost Daughter. And that's in partnership with MBT, National Black Theater. And I worked a little bit on it at the Huntington as well. And I will say most of my plays are, like hilarious family dramas, but this one isn't hilarious. This one was inspired from a workshop I did with the Say Her Name organization. They were working on a screenplay, I believe, that they were trying to put together. And so they had Awoye kind of brought a bunch of actresses that she knew and she loved to like kind of play these lost girls and their mothers. And so we were in workshop for a couple weeks, and there's just no way, I don't think anyone could walk away from that type of experience and not do something, right? Or not feel called to do something. And so I definitely felt called to do something. And so I jotted down some notes, some things that I kind of, thought we're missing from the canon, and from the wider story. When we think about police brutality, I think the face is usually a Black male, and that is the story some of the time. But I think we kind of forget these precious women who are also lost and their circumstances. And what we truly forget about are the families that are left behind, right? How they cope, if they cope. And looking at these mothers, watching these interviews, you see that the statistics, I mean, a lot of these mothers, like they have strokes within like 2 years, and then they like pass away. Like it's horrible. It's horrible. And so I definitely felt called into action. And so I just kind of wanted to wait for an opportunity where I could fully dive into the subject. And luckily, my home theater, National Black Theater, and my fellowship has been extended to like Lord knows when. So they're going to be my home theater for a while. Thank you.
You're welcome.
But they offer this amazing safe space to really like dive in. And I told them this idea, and they're like, "We're all for it. We'll give you the space. We'll give you the room." Like right. And so I wrote, and the first draft was horrible. It was just so bad. It was so bad. There were bells, and it was just very like symbolic, kind of like a poem, And of course, bless them. They were like, "Oh, I think we see where you're going with this,"
Go back and start again.
I know. Well, they were like, "This is great," and like we're looking forward to the second draft. And I think once I got that, I know, that's when it's like,
yeah, that's a nice way to say it. Yeah,
looking forward to the next draft. And so once I got that out of my system, actually, like weirdly, the ritual of it, then I saw the story. It was just like bam, like it came to me. And then I wrote it out. And then, of course, we were like all on the same page. And it was great. And then it kind of just snowballed from there. And I think we have a workshop production of it coming up. I think like 4 weeks after I give birth. So we'll see how that goes. But
so May 2nd.
So yeah.
You do April 2nd. For our listeners that don't know, Fedna is pregnant and she is due April 2nd. So, but what I'm interested in your writing is your process. And it might be different for every play, I know where the inspiration came from because you were doing this workshop, but for your other pieces and for, as a playwright, and we've had a lot of playwrights on here, I love to ask them where the inspiration comes from sometimes and how do you start?
That's a good one. Well, usually I'm always on the lookout, right? Like I love watching people. I love watching TV. I do have like a motto. It's like a Haitian motto. Wash no soleil pa kondule, wash no dlo. Or is it wash no dlo pa kondule, wash no soleil? That's what it is. So like the rocks in the water don't know the pain and suffering of the rocks that are in the sun, right? And vice versa, right? So
can you say that again?
Sure. So rocks in the water don't know the pain and suffering of the rocks that are in the sun.
In Haitian.
Oh, in Creole?
Yeah, in Creole.
Wash na dlo pa kondule, wash no soleil. So it's kind of like, not grass is greener on the other side, but it's more of like, you never really know someone else's pain, right? Unless you're in there. And that's kind of my manifesto in life, right? Like I want to make sure that the rock in the water knows the experience of the rock in the sun, and the rock in the sun knows the experience of the rock in the water, or else we're always going to be at an impasse, right?
Yes.
So it's always about like bringing people together just to see, and no judgment, just to see like what's out there. Like this is what this person talks like, feels like. This is what they love. This is how they, dance. Like really give people the experience of seeing authenticity, on stage. So that's what I'm always looking for. And then in order to start, I mean, unfortunately, that you might call this cheating, but I always, it comes to me in a dream, right? Like I do a bunch of research, I'm thinking about this and that, and the story just comes in one dream, and then I like download it and write furiously until it comes out, and then I'm good. And then of course the rewrites, which,
Wow.
always take forever. Yeah.
That's fascinating and
Yeah.
cathartic all at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel like with Ain't No Mo and a lot of your other projects follow like the satires of about race and slavery and identity?
Mhm.
Um, we're all looking back, trying to find a way to move forward. Does that make
Hmm.
sense?
It does make sense. I do think that's a common theme, actually, in the work that I've performed in, is a looking back
Yeah.
to move forward, or changing the lens so that it can fit your
Yeah.
survivor story. Yes, I definitely think that's true. And yeah, I guess that's common in my work too, right? Because I do play with memory a lot.
Mhm.
And how everyone has a different sense of memory. Memory isn't like a fluid thing, right? So you're
Mm.
constantly relearning, and you're constantly like diagnosing what's real and what's not real.
Or
And if it's helpful.
rewriting history as well, right? Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. So yeah, definitely. I think looking back to move forward, or choosing to look back to look
Yeah.
forward, is very important. Yeah.
But sometimes you can't look back for too long. At least I've learned this through therapy. You can't. You can. I'm not anyone's therapist, believe me. But you can glance back at it and look and try to understand why we're not moving forward. And I feel like so many artists are trying to do work that is helping us to, or trying to get us to move to that next level
Mhm.
and move forward.
Mhm. And I'd say that some people are getting us to move forward, not even by looking back, but just like looking at now, right? Like
Yeah,
looking
yeah.
at the present, because that's still sometimes
Ooh,
like shocker,
yeah,
shocker, but like that's still up for debate,
it sure
which is
is.
strange, right? The present is up for debate right now, which is
Yeah,
crazy but true, right? That a lot of us are just trying to have people just look at today, look at what's going on now, and see how we can move forward from that.
yeah. If
Yeah.
we can,
Yeah.
when we can.
Yeah.
There's always hope. We will. We will.
Yeah, it's a time
Yes.
of transformation. That's what we're in right now. So it's going to feel a little icky and a little uncomfortable, and then a lot of icky and a lot of uncomfortable, and
Yeah.
then a lot of messed up. And
Mhm.
then we've got to transform at some point. We can't
Exactly.
stay the same. We can't,
Exactly.
you know.
Exactly.
And so I think this whole time that we had stuck in the house gave breath to people really having an opportunity to look at themselves, their thoughts, what they want, what have been their fears, what I want to go for. And a lot of
Mhm.
people are coming out writing those things and that's what excites me. And I'm so upset at why I didn't get to see this play is it's it, it's there are important experiences and stories to be told, but when you can tell it authentically in a humorous way,
Yes.
it's like, oh, okay, because otherwise our whole story is just trauma after trauma after trauma. So
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. You
it's
get
just
there faster with humor. Like everyone wants to hop on that train, and they'll let that train take them anywhere.
Mm,
And
yeah.
then like 2 weeks later, they'll be at the dinner table like, what?
right.
Was that a sermon? Like,
That's
it's
right.
hitting me hard. Yeah, exactly.
Yes, yes, yes. So, what are your plans? What's going on next for you? Have you thought about that? Or are you like, I'm in motherhood and I'm just cocooning in it for a while? What's going on?
No, actually, so I'm on to my next writing play. So I'm writing this play with NBT. They gave me this great opportunity to extend my fellowship with CRNY. And so, like, I mean, this is the reason why, a show closes, but I still have insurance. Like, this is kind
Oh,
of like the
thank
artist's
God. Right.
dream,
Yeah.
right? Like, middle of my second semester, like, "Ugh." But anyway, is that here or there? So I do have this amazing fellowship that was extended. And now I'm working on this new play that's actually set in a submarine, also set in World War II. which is
Oh,
definitely something
I
that
love
I've
it.
I know I've
Interesting.
never done anything like it before, but because I have the time and I could do the research and like I feel like I have the space and the support. Like it's coming out and it's pretty um lovely so far. We'll see if
Yeah.
they tell me they're excited for the second draft or not, but like it's going well so far.
What do you set? I know a lot of writers that get up early in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, and they write from 5 to 9, and then they're off to do something. Do you have a schedule for yourself about writing? Is it every day? Is it, wake up in the middle of the night and write down that dream that you had? Is it, do you make the time every day?
Definitely spurts. So I just don't believe in forcing anything because whenever I force writing, oh, it's icky. It's a waste of time. And I'm also like, I have this weird like insomnia now that I'm in my third trimester where like I can't sleep for like hours of the night. So I do make up for it during the day with a bunch of naps. So I do like, when something comes to me, I write it down. I've already kind of seen the story. So that's kind of my cheat sheet. And then like when I'm inspired, I go and I write until like the fingers stop moving and then I like let it go. And then I hop back on when it's ready. I think because I think the deadline for this one is the end of April, which of course I want to get it done before the baby comes.
Yes,
But
of course.
because I had the time, like it's a little easier. I don't have to like meddle to the, push it. But I will say most of my writing hours, usually pre-pregnancy, they were in the mornings. So like maybe like 6:30 to about like 10. It's like the best time for me to write. And then everything else kind of I'd have to delete later.
As an actor, I know I saw the play about Gloria Steinem that you did off Broadway.
Yes.
I would love for you to talk just a little bit about your experience in working on that with Christine Lottie, right? And that was a great play. We still have so much to learn from Miss Steinem, I think. And the play is, so relevant today as it was in the 60s and 70s. But you talk a little bit about what inspired you about that play and your experience in it?
I love that play.
Me too.
Yes, Gloria Life's great. I mean, Gloria Steinem is great. But what's also great is that, we were looking at second wave feminism through a different lens, right? We use Gloria to kind of get people there, like get butts in seats. And like she did this on purpose, right? She wanted us to use her story to amplify the other women who are involved in second wave feminism, which is something
was
that
brilliant.
right? And
Yeah,
no one ever
brilliant.
talks about like Dorothy Pittman. Like I didn't even hear of her. And then I played her and I was like, what the heck?
Who is that, right?
And it's amazing, like all of these women who inspired her and worked with her, like shoulder to shoulder, and we're who were really erased, when you think of second wave feminism. So
They were erased. I
they
mean,
were.
yeah, we didn't know about the other characters in the play, but
At
the
all.
genius of it is that Gloria gave them the credit, and they
Exactly.
were your character especially. I mean, these are people whose names everyone should know. And sorry, that gets me riled up that they don't. Yeah,
It's true. And then also at the end, every show we had a talking circle, right? And it was just a different type of theater. It was just a different way of doing theater, right? Where we all just got to sit in a circle and talk. And sometimes Gloria would come out, and like even when Gloria was there, like people would like scream for like maybe the first 2 minutes, and then we'd still talk, right? About the hard things. Like that never stopped. And that was an amazing experience, I think, to be able to, especially I'm forgetting when we did it, but that was it was an interesting year politically, right? Like everything, like shit was hit. Oh, can I say
You could
shit?
say
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
Okay.
It's up. Yeah.
we
Thank
all
you.
grown.
Go on and curse. It's okay. We like it.
When shit was hitting the
Yeah. Yeah. It sure
fan.
was.
And
Yeah.
we're like, what kind of America is this? You know?
Where are we? Right.
Oh Lord. And I mean, we're still saying that today, but especially then, right? So it was so great that we were able to speak to the community about it. And people had different opinions. And that was fine too, right? But we were talking and we were being productive and everyone had an equal voice. And I don't think I've ever had something like that in a play, right? That's not usually how we do
Mm-mm.
theater, you know?
No.
Mhm,
It was a beautifully written piece and beautifully
Yes.
acted. It should have went on longer. I mean, it kept extending. It did very well. But
Mm-hmm.
you know, um,
2008.
it was 2018
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
that was the play, and we had some shit going on in this world. But you know,
mhm.
my question now is for you and Joy, and you giving birth very soon, and Joy having 18-year-old amazing young lady. Well, she brought up some incredible
18?
kid.
Oh,
And
so
She
she,
looks good.
you had your child when you were 3 years old?
I
Hmm.
don't know, 2.5.
Love it. Love it.
So
I was still in college.
being a black woman in America after all these killings, and I take it back to the play and your character, and just people, you're just too afraid to birth a child into this world, and you think about what might be better for the child not to be born. I knew for me, you've said you knew for me and my mental health that I could substitute myself and my character because I have those fears.
Mhm.
I read a quote that you said that, and you know, you think a lot about, you know, all these black men getting pulled over and getting shot, and I mean that is terrifying for a woman to give birth to a girl or a boy. You
Mhm.
know, um, where are you there? Are you? What's the? I'm sure you're so excited to have this child, but you know, I saw someone say today, you know, oh, you know, as soon as they turn 18, you know, you stop worrying. And I was like, I don't think so. I think a mother is a mother for the rest of their life. I mean, if my
Baby,
mother's
you
watching
are asking
right
a
now, right,
question
that's right.
that we need a whole season to talk about this
Yes.
one question.
Yes.
Uh,
But I'm interested in your point of view, and um yeah, I'm not going to ask you how you're going to bring up your child, but you know, there's probably a lot of trepidation and being scared and so many things. So many things you're going through with, as an artist, will fill you with so much.
Yeah.
But I'm just fascinated about being pregnant and, you know, being an artist, and where you're going to go with these feelings and how you feel.
Yeah. I mean, I will say what you said about once they turn 18, that's, you know, kind of when you stop worrying. I think in the Black culture, it's like the opposite, right? So when you have like a little child, like a young child, then everyone thinks that they're cute. So you don't have to worry about them, right? Until they start looking dangerous or,
Mm.
you know, threatening. That's when, you know, so like once they hit 11, 12, that's when you start, you know, your heart starts beating. And I've had some experience of this because, you know, I have 6 nieces and nephews. And, you know, I worry and I pray every day. I don't even know how to answer that other than the fact that I'm literally on my knees every day praying for their safety and praying for the safety of all children, you know,
Of course.
all children of color. And I think that's part of the reason why Jordan wrote this play, like Ain't No Mo. That's why he wrote this play. It's definitely why I wrote Black Mother Lost Daughter, like
Mhm.
it's why a lot of us artists are like pushing as hard as we can to kind of like see us, like
Right.
keep us safe, like we're human.
Yeah.
Um, that's kind of why we do what we do. But I think if I thought about it without prayer, I'd go insane. I would really
Yeah.
just go insane.
That was a
Which is,
beautiful way to answer the
yeah.
question. That was exactly right. Joy, how do you feel at 18 with Z?
That's why this is such a loaded question.
I know it is.
Spiritually, energetically, I feel wonderful. I feel great. Because I know that she truly is in a different frequency than where a lot of things happen. So she's not in that frequency. So for that, I feel grateful. I don't take that for granted. In terms of being present in the matrix of the bullshit that happens, I feel angry. I feel sometimes I feel done to, and it makes me want to do. So, and that is because other people don't have to think about or feel or experience the stuff that's just regular stuff that
Mm-hmm.
we know. So it's like when I hear somebody talking about something that is sometimes of a privileged position, I don't have boundaries for it
Mm.
much anymore.
I know you don't.
Yeah.
I know firsthand you don't.
Well, I should say I have boundaries, and I no longer am afraid to express them. I don't move the line in the sand anymore. So that's what makes me angry, because I just see so many people who are just not present to what really is going on, and I don't have a choice but to be present. I don't have a choice, and it's exhausting.
Speaking of education, and we can talk about this other subject for hours and hours, but I'm glad you both said something, and thank you so much for sharing that. But I'd love to start to hear about your Stepping Stone Foundation, and that has to do with students, and that everyone should have a college education. And can you share that with us?
Of course. Stepping Stone Foundation, they're so near and dear to my heart. They're an amazing organization that kind of actually saved the lives of my siblings and I. So they focus on inner city kids, and you kind of go through 2 years of like summer school, and like you're in school like on Thursdays and Saturdays when like other kids are like playing around, and they call you, like, you're called like a stepping stone scholar, right? So it feels really important and really cool, and you're in the fourth grade and you're reading these books and you're gaining these study skills, and you're learning how to take kind of organized tests, which is
Mm-hmm.
something that you need prep for, right? It's not that you're unintelligent in any way. It's just you need to know how to take tests. And so they really focus in on inner city kids in Boston and giving them the tools, to succeed in life. And so that usually manifests into getting into a private school or a charter school or an exam school in Boston. And then I think they have like a crazy rate. I'm not sure, it's like 99.8 or something percent of stepping stone scholars end up going and finishing a 4-year college. Like, it's
Wow, that's
insane.
incredible.
They're so awesome. They really like, and they don't stop there, right? Like someone from stepping stone would like come, because I I did Stepping Stone, loved it. My older brother did, my older sister did as well. And they would like stop by your school and they'd like ask if you need help. And,
Mm,
both of my parents are from Haiti. And, English was kind of like, English was my dad's like third, fourth language, And so, we had to like fill out the FAFSA and like all of this stuff. And they like helped us to do that, in
mhm.
order to get, the financial aid package that we needed. They were just always there. They never stopped caring and giving and checking in. Um,
Nice.
Even now, I'm in like my 30s, and they're like, "Hey, Fedna, like, are you okay?" I'm like, "Yes, I am."
Yeah.
But they're just such an amazing organization, and they
How
really
could
also highlight their
What's
scholars too. So
what's
how
the
could
ideal
people? Go ahead,
age?
baby.
What's the ideal age, the ideal demographic of kid that should, like, if somebody's like, oh, I know a kid like that, that they should say, call Stepping Stone. Tell us about who that kid is.
of course. Well, I think that kid could be a first generation kid. That kid could be any kid who's interested in like learning more, like doing just a little bit extra, finding a community of scholars. Any kid who's like, hey, like I see college on the radar, but I don't know how to get there. Any student who really is just like, hey, I want to do something else. I want to be around like-minded kids. uh, I would say push them towards Stepping Stone. And I think now Stepping Stone has branched out. So the program that I did, which kind of starts in the 4th grade, they have like another program that starts in the 9th grade. They have like another program that doesn't focus on independent and private schools, but like exam schools. Like they're just they can help, I think, any student who's willing to give it a try. So it's definitely a program I would 100% um,
We're putting the
advise
website up
anyone.
on the thing. It's steppingstone.org. And how do people get involved? I mean, besides, writing a check and, helping them with fiscal stuff, how can people get involved?
Well, definitely,
What does the organization need?
of course. Definitely still write that check. They have a day of
Yeah.
giving coming up soon.
Yeah.
So do write the
Yeah, do
checks.
write the check.
Do write the checks. But also, like, there are always a need for mentors and
Mhm.
teachers and like a bunch, so if that's in your heart, if that's your calling, like 100%. But also if you have, say, like an internship that you'd love to give a Boston kid, like you'd love like a high schooler or someone that you can like tutor and help, like this is definitely a program to reach out to. And they'll link you up with, eager students who are like willing to learn and excited to learn. They're great for that. So if you're into teaching, if you have an internship, if you got that money, if you have connections, if you work in a place that's amazing for a field trip, like
Yeah.
anything really, I think just contact them and they'll find a way to use you because they're just really good at highlighting people's strengths. They're an amazing organization.
Speaking of which, what was the moment? I love to ask artists this question, where you were either seeing a show or maybe watching something on TV, or maybe you were writing as a kid, and that light bulb goes off and says, "This is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life." Can you recall a moment where that happened?
Of course. Sorry, I just had a flash to my
No,
mom
good. I'd
with
love
her
to see
Haitian
it.
accent
Yeah.
going, fizzy or not. So I did this play. Like, I did this play when I was in the 7th grade, Guys and Dolls, Guys and Dolls.
Of course.
Who was I? Mimi? I think it was Mimi, and like before we started the musical, like all of us Kit Kat girls like went around to the audience, which our moms and dads, and offered them, I think it was either cider or ginger ale. So we would just be
Mhm.
like, fizzy or not, My mom just like loved it. She was just so into it. And she's like, oh my gosh. And this is, before I came out as an actor, which wasn't until, senior year grad school or undergrad. But, because, immigrant parents, you have
Yeah.
to slowly reveal yourself.
Mhm.
You don't want anyone getting a heart attack. It's like, no, I'm still gonna be a doctor. I'm still gonna be a lawyer. And then like,
Yeah,
eventually, yeah,
Jocelyn Bio, who we had on the show, talked about that too, and she
yeah.
does
But
a great imitation of her mother. And I'm not going to try to do it, but she's like, "Oh, you're doing you're doing the play acting, but you're still going to go to law school, or you're still going to be
yeah,
a doctor." Is that how your parents feel or did?
100%, but only also because I lied. Like I told them this.
Oh, I
I
see.
triple majored. Like I was going to like I had like with a poli sci, Africana studies and theater, but I always was like, yeah, theater's like, just for fun. And I always knew that I was gonna be an artist, but I always, they had to see this report card and I was just not going to tell them because I didn't want to break their hearts. They
Of
worked so
course.
hard to get into the country. Your job is to then have a solid job, and then your
Mhm.
kids can be an artist. Like that's how it goes.
Right.
But I think it was my senior year at Brown, and my mom came to see my first play called The Earthquake, which was written after the earthquake in Haiti. And she saw it, and she was like, "You're gonna be an artist, aren't you?" And I was like, "Yeah." She was okay with it because she liked the play,
Oh,
and she was like,
Oh, that's
"Okay."
wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
that's a
she's also
nice thing.
like, I don't know. She also, I guess I didn't skip a generation because she's way more talented than I am. Like she has the voice
Your
of an
mother.
angel. Yes, my
Wow.
mom, like literally the voice of an angel.
Does
She's
she use it? Does she sing
she sings at church.
at church? Mhm.
She sings at church. And yeah, she sings at church and she like acts at church. Like she does like the Christmas carol kind of stuff. But like I maybe write and can act, but like my mom, like
Doesn't sing.
she could sing, she could dance, she could do it all. Like she would already have 7 Tonys if she was born in the States. Like she's really quite the artist to behold.
mm.
And you have brothers and sisters, and you're an auntie too, so you're not the first grandchild.
No, and luckily, so my brother started off in finance, but now he's in education. But he
Mhm.
he went to Harvard, so he kind of took the pressure off me. My sister's this amazing lawyer, so it's like, yeah, they did it. They're
So now
there.
I can be an artist.
They can be an artist, right? Just let me be. And then my little brother, of course, got into sports. So they were like, let's just let us have our lives.
I love it.
Well, it's beautiful that you took that space, they gave you that space, and it's all working out.
Yes.
It's beautiful. That
Yes,
is
she was definitely the first person. She was there opening night. She's like, I love it. No, but I love this play. We're on Broadway. She was like #1 fan. Yeah. They're into it now.
Where do you think off Broadway and Broadway and the theater in general, for the past few years, I've heard a lot of artists saying, okay, the blueprint we have now of what theater looks like needs to be torn down, and we need to build everything back up again from scratch.
Mhm.
Or we need to do this, or we need to do that. Where are you with being an artist now, today? This past year has been a magical year for you.
Mhm.
But, before, when maybe you weren't, on Broadway, or, where's your point of view about the arts and what you see for the future?
Well, I think it is interesting that, I had this fabulous year and still could see the cracks, right? I
Mm.
could still ran up against the walls and the ceilings and the doors, the closed doors. So I do think that things do have to change, right? We have to continue to move forward. But I never believe in tearing anything down. I just believe in enhancing, right? And really taking a look at what we have and why things are the way they are, like really critically thinking about this space that is a transformational space, right? Like we love theater, especially off Broadway, right? Because that's when people get to see themselves and you don't have to think about like all of the commercial blah, 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 blah. Like really people sit to see themselves. They need to see that mirror. That's what off Broadway is all about.
Right. And you're not
So
paying $350 for a ticket. Right.
no, you're sitting in a black box theater and you're like getting your dose, right? Like maybe you can't afford therapy, but you could afford this, right? And you see it, right? Like that's like my number one story about I mean, my dad now, he's blind and he's not listening to this, but I always think like, oh man, like if he saw King Lear, he'd be a different man, you know, like that's the whole thing. We go to see theater so we could learn about ourselves and how to change and how to empathize. And I do think what needs to happen is not, it's not a tearing down, but it's an opening up. Right. We need to continue to open.
I love that. I love that. That's a perfect answer. Go ahead, Joy.
I have nothing to say after that. That's great. I'm good.
That was perfect. What's your so your due date is April 2nd. What is I know he or she has not been born yet, but what is your hopes for motherhood and for introducing your child to the arts and to a whole culture of, I mean, he's coming into a melting pot of artists and playwriting and actors and, how excited are you to introduce that to him or her? Excuse me.
Him. We already know.
Oh,
so
okay.
Yeah. So, well, at least for sex, we know him.
Okay.
But I feel like I'm excited to see.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see him Earthside. Like I
Yeah,
want
of
to know what he's
course.
into. Like I want to know if he's gonna be more like me or like his dad or like none of us. We're such an interesting couple because my husband, he grew up in Hong Kong, he's like half Chinese, he's super international, and I'm here in my socks and my pajamas just like writing stories, I was like what this baby's gonna do or gonna be into. I'm just excited. I'm excited to see what path this baby takes. And I don't know. I don't think he could make a wrong decision, which is exciting.
Yeah. And you have the whole Haitian community to help look after your child, right?
My mom, she, like, literally, bless her. She's an amazing woman. She's coming and staying with us to like help take care of the baby so that I could, go back to my plays and like do my workshop.
Wow.
And all this stuff. And my husband's gonna take like an extended paternity leave. So like my family is pretty awesome. He's gonna have the Haitian side with my mom, and then he's gonna have like my husband over here who like already has like the books on like how to like heal. Like I guess there's
what
like
to expect when you're expecting,
Asian,
right?
well, there's like this whole culture of like foods you should eat like once you give birth and like things you should do. And he's like really into that and like, hey, I want to provide this for you. And I'm like, okay, I'll take it, So I think
you got a good man.
I do.
You got a good man.
Yeah, he's pretty great. If I do say so myself.
Well, tell him we say hello.
I will.
We think he's got a good woman. Your talent is extraordinary. And when you come to life, I love watching you on stage when you come to life, but you came to life and brought it to me in Joy tonight. And I'm very grateful for that.
Thank you.
You wear your heart on your sleeve, and I love that. I can't wait to see what you do next.
Thank you. You're gonna make me cry.
No.
So sweet. You're not supposed to be this nice to pregnant women. Then they start crying.
Oh, okay. They start crying. I didn't know that. Sorry. I'm a gay white man. I didn't know that. Okay. Sorry. I made you cry. All right. You cried, you cried. That's our show. We're ending on a cry. Please join us on March 20th when John Andrew Morrison and I interview the Grammy Award winning and Tony Award nominated actress Danielle Brooks. Danielle recently starred on Broadway in The Piano Lesson and previously starred in The Color Purple. Later this year, she'll be seen in the feature film and adaptation of the musical. We'll also talk with her about her award-winning off-Broadway performance as Beatrice in Much Ado About Nothing at the Delacorte in Central Park and Black Women on Broadway, an organization she co-founded which honors the legacy of Black women's contributions to the theater. Ladies and gentlemen, please go to an off-Broadway theater and see a show. Support the arts. Go to Broadway, off Broadway, a tiny little box off Broadway, if that's in anywhere near you, or a show anywhere across the country. Stay safe and have a really good night. And thank you, Fedna. You are an inspiration to us all. Thank you, Joy, for your honesty and your love. So
thank you.
Have a wonderful night, everybody. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.